As the international tax partner here at Aprio, which industries are you seeing gaining the most momentum in 2024?
From an industry perspective, we have a large technology client base. They seem to be fairly resilient, and I would think that would continue, technology in general. Some of the new technologies that are coming out, whether it's in the software space or even AI nowadays, they tend to be some of those businesses that are at the forefront of continued growth.
So a lot of your clients, though, are doing outbound business. So for the tax planning for expanding internationally, what are some of the biggest challenges that they're facing?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. I'd say at the top of that list is just the overall complexity. Not only do you have to get over the hurdle of how do we structure this, but now I have to comply with the reporting, which is significant. The IRS in the US and globally, folks want to know about what you're doing, even if there's not a tax cost. There's a lot of informational disclosure forms that can come with significant penalties if they're not, both filed or filed materially correct. There's costs associated with those two things in doing business and going global. So anytime a client or company is either expanding or already is global or just looking at it for the first time, there should be a notion they should be prepared to spend some time and effort and money so their profile is protected in terms of compliance.
Are there any regional tax considerations that clients need to be aware of that are significant?
Yeah, if you think about Europe, great treaty jurisdiction with the US. It's fairly broad in terms of a lot of jurisdictions in Europe have treaties, so you can get more favorable rates on certain items of income when investing in places like Europe, in particular Western Europe. It's also a more defined legal landscape in terms of tax in Europe, more sophisticated in terms of where they're at in terms of their laws, and the guardrails are a little clearer.
Do you ever advise clients that are expanding internationally to go to a certain place versus another based on tax considerations?
Sometimes, yes, we will advise clients that, when we're picking a jurisdiction, we'll usually get a lot of help from local partners as well in that kind of an analysis. There's a little bit less incentive generally, given tax reform in 2017 from a US perspective, because of things like new GILTI rules as of 2017, where a lot of foreign earnings are subject to US tax, irrespective of the locality on the outbound investment. But there could be foreign planning opportunities that could necessitate a particular foreign jurisdiction or some kind of a IP company or holding company structure for things like withholding taxes, whatever it may be, or things of that nature. But yeah, that does certainly come up.
Do you want to elaborate on a success story that you've had? I know I've read a couple of instances where you've saved clients upwards of $1 million by different methods of restructuring or...
Right. Yeah, the more recent success stories that come to mind for myself have been more repatriation minded in terms of clients with outbound operations, because they've had liquidity events, through operations, they've had significant earnings or cash builds in foreign operations, whatever the case may or may not be. We've seen an uptick in some repatriation activity where clients are saying, I have X amount of excess cash flows I want to bring back to the US because I either have to service debt or I just want to return capital to investors. So we've had recent instances where we've assisted clients with efficient repatriation of upwards of almost 100 million at times, tax efficiently, to bring that cash home so they can either redeploy it in their business, return it to investors, again, pay down debt, whatever the case may be, but whatever their capital or treasury liquidity needs are, we've been able to assist that through assisting them with declaring and making distributions, assessing withholding taxes, and minimizing those to the extent under treaty networks, transfer pricing methodologies, cleanup of intercompany receivables, payables, all these kinds of different methodologies. But we've been very successful with a couple clients in particular to upwards of almost 100 million at times to be able to repatriate those funds so they can redeploy it in their business for however they choose.